Hey everybody, it's Nick with the Bass Hookup. We're back. Today's going to be a special episode. It's basically going to be going over everything you need to know to start bass fishing. How do you start bass fishing? I've been asked that a million times by friends, by kids I come across while I'm fishing. They want to know, what do I need? What rod and reel? What baits work? How to tie the knot? We're going over all of that today, so stay tuned. Oh, I got another one. Swimming out. Going on right there. Got him. One. See it on the fall. Oh, got one. Got one, guys. The two things I'm going to show you today, the setups and the two baits. Yeah, only two baits. You don't need a bunch of tackle. You just don't. These two baits will catch them from the shore, and they'll catch them from a boat, your buddy's boat, your own boat. So to get started, I'm going to go over rod and reels, right? So what's a good rod and reel setup for a beginner all the way to expert level, right? A good rod and reel to teach a kid how to use, to teach anybody learning, is going to be a spinning rod. It's the easiest one to use, easiest one to learn. I taught my kids when they were 3 years old how to cast a spinning rod, no problem. Bait caster is a little more difficult, so spinning rod is what I would suggest, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I have here my daughter's rod, and this is just a Shakespeare amphibian rod that I bought on Amazon. It's graphite, but it's two-piece, and it's cheap. I think it was like maybe $30, $40 for the whole setup. Already came with line on it, and that's all you really need. That's all you need if you're a kid, you get started, or if you're an adult. This will get you out there on the water, and it'll get you catching fish. Like I said, this setup here came with line on it, and I'm fine with that. You don't need special line, so let's talk about the line. You have your spinning rod and reel. You pick out which one you want, right? You could go to Bass Pro. You could get a combination like this Lew's Mach spinning rod and reel combo. If you want to spend $129, $100, you get something like this, and this will work everywhere. This is a one-piece graphite rod, and the graphite is important because the graphite is going to provide you with so much more sensitivity than a fiberglass rod. So when you're looking for rods to start out with, I would just start right out with a graphite rod. If it's one piece, that's ideal. If it's two piece, like the one I bought my daughter, no problem. It'll still get the job done. She's got tons of fish out here on these ponds on this rod. And back to the line. The line, I would suggest just using 8-pound monofilament or copolymer line. I'm not going to say a brand because it doesn't really matter to me. You could buy whatever's local, at your Walmart, at Bass Pro Shops, or whatever's around you, or Amazon. It doesn't really matter. I just suggest using an 8-pound line and copolymer or monofilament because it's a little more forgiving than fluorocarbon. It doesn't have as much memory. It has some stretch, so for people learning how to fish, when they go to set the hook or rip on that hook too hard, it's going to give. It's tough line, it's easy to use. So that's what I would recommend. The rod, a graphite rod, it doesn't have to be expensive. Again, just a graphite rod. It could be a two-piece, it could be a one-piece, whatever reel. Like I said, this combo is about 40 bucks. This one's about $129. They both catch fish. Again, the line, cheap line, monofilament. You could get a spool of 600 yards for $15. You could get 200 yards for $6. So it's cheap, it's easy to get started. That's all you need. Baits. This is important. There's only, well, let me say this. There's a million baits out there on the market, right? Swim baits, crank baits, topwater, jerk baits, spinner baits, chatter baits. There are so many baits, it's overwhelming for somebody just getting into bass fishing. What I'm going to recommend is you only need to go with two baits. The two baits that you need, and you need to have these two baits. Even if you're out fishing Clear Lake or you're fishing the Delta, you need to have these two baits. They catch fish everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's your pond or from a boat. The first bait is a little swim bait. This is a 3.3 inch Keitech, and this is a little swim bait head. Again, I'm not going to say a specific one because it doesn't really matter. I mean, for a 3.3 inch size, I'm only using about a 2/0 hook. This one, I'm not even sure what the brand is. I use a million of them. Whatever I have in my tackle box, I just grab it. This is a 1/8 ounce little head, and this thing you rig up just like this. So you take your swim bait, and I'm gonna hold my hook, and I'm gonna put it, the swim bait itself, the little tip of the swim bait here is gonna touch right here. So I'm gonna hold it up like that and see where the hook should be coming out. The hook should be coming out right about here, right where you see that bend coming out of that bait. So I'm gonna try to remember that on the bait, and I'm gonna try to get this as straight as possible. So I'm gonna go right down the center of this bait, right down the center, and try to get it to come out right where I saw it that it should, right? So it's coming out right there. I'm gonna slide it all the way up. Slide that all the way up like that. There you go. The bait's straight, hook's coming out right where I thought it should. We're done. That's the setup. It's easy. Any kid could put this on. The other advantage of this bait for beginners is it has the exposed hook. There's advantages and disadvantages. First, the advantage is exposed hook. Most of the time when you're starting out, you don't know what the bite feels like. So when a fish comes up and grabs this bait right here, and you just keep reeling, you don't know it's a fish, it's gonna hook it. It's gonna hook it. Eventually you'll know it's a fish because it's gonna be pulling back on the end of your rod. So that's the advantage. Disadvantage is if you're throwing it around any cover, weeds, obviously this is gonna get caught on that sort of thing. So you might be more liable to break these off a little bit more. But I have my kids throw this a lot because the advantage again is they're just gonna cast out and reel, and I just tell them to reel at a medium speed, and if a fish comes up and eats it, boom, they got it hooked. You know, they're kind of surprised by it, they got it hooked and they reel it in. Really easy to use. Another good thing about it for beginners is a lot of times, especially the younger ones, they don't want to wait for their bait to sink to the bottom. You know, they don't want to really wait. They don't really want to wait at all. So they want to be able to cast something out and just reel it in, cast and reel. If you do that enough times with this bait at a pond, you're going to catch a fish. You could just cast and reel, keep walking, covering water, just having fun. The whole thing is just getting it so it's easy for them to catch a fish, and they're having fun. And I can't blame them because I like to do the same thing at ponds. I don't really like to wait when, you know, sometimes I know I should be using something slower, but I like to cover water too. So perfect bait to start out with. Doesn't matter, like I said, if it's in a lake or a pond, you could use this swim bait. And we're going over everything in this video. So now I'm going to talk about how to actually tie it on, what kind of knot. And I'm going to show you the knot I learned when I was a kid, and I think it's the easiest, and to this day, one of the strongest knots for monofilament, braided line. People use it for fluorocarbon. It's one of the best knots, and it's the easiest to tie. So let me show you. All right, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, probably not that well, but there are a ton of videos showing you exactly how to tie this knot in detail, you know, with their big yellow line or whatever. You can see it. So I'm not too worried about it. I just want to show you guys real quick. So this is a Palomar knot. The knot that I use for almost everything, 95% of the time, is a Palomar knot. What it is you're going to take the line, you're going to take your line and find the end of it. And I usually grab about, to make it easy, let's just grab about 10 inches of the line. Okay, 10 inches, and then towards the end of it here, I'm just going to grab it, and we're just doubling up the line. We're doubling up the line. So now you have a loop on this end. The loop, you need to get small enough to put through the eye of the bait. An easy way that I was taught to do it was you take the loop, and you put it over the tip of the hook. And if you snug down on the, right there on the tip, it makes your loop tiny. And then it easily goes through the eye of that bait. Now you grab this end and you still have the other tag end in this hand. So now the bait's on there and you get the bait in the middle. Now all you're gonna do is you're gonna tie one overhand knot. One overhand knot, just like that. If you would imagine it was one piece of fishing line, it'd just be an overhand knot. But since we doubled it up, there's two. That's all it is, overhand knot. Now I have this loop here. And what do I do with this? All I'm gonna do is open it up and pass my bait through the loop, all the way through. So my loop now is on this side of the bait. And I'm gonna grab my tag end and the main line and just start to pull it slowly, tighten it down, boom. All the way tight. All the way tight. Take the cutters, cut the tag end off. There you go. Super strong knot for monofilament braided line. That's all you need. So I got my rod and reel, my 8-pound monofilament, my little swim bait. I'm ready to catch fish anywhere. Clear Lake, Berryessa, the Delta, doesn't matter. That's bait number 1. All right, the second bait that I'd recommend, highly recommend, you have to have is a stick bait. It could be a Yamamoto Senko like this. It could be a Yum Dinger. It could be a Bass Pro Shop Sticko. It doesn't matter, but I recommend the 5-inch size, some sort of stick bait like this. And I pair that on, it could be an EWG, it could be a straight chain hook. As long as it's paired with a 2/0 or 3/0 hook like this, you're gonna catch fish. How do you put this on? You're gonna hook it up weedless. So how you do that is you take the point of your hook and you see this neck. Even if you don't have a neck, you want to stick the point of the hook down to where the bend starts, right here. So you're gonna stick it right in the middle, and I'm gonna put it right down to where that bend starts. And then I'm gonna have it come out, pull the hook all the way down to where this worm head is gonna cover your eyelet. Pull it down just so it covers it. So now the hook's just sticking out there. And then you're gonna line up the hook. You want this thing to be straight, as straight as possible. So see where the hook, it's gonna go in right here. Right there is where I want the hook to go in that worm. So I'm gonna try to remember that spot, and I'm gonna take my hook, my worm, and bend it a little bit. Stick the worm point in, right down the middle, and boom. Your worm is perfectly straight. So what happens is, when you throw this thing out, it has its own wobble. This thing's gonna wobble like that and look like a fish dying, bluegill, crawdad. It's just gonna look like something dying on the bottom. And to work it, all you gotta do is cast it out and let it hit the water. And you're gonna, most of the time when you're new to fishing, or your kid's new to fishing, they're gonna cast out and they're not gonna shut the bail on the spinning reel right away. And we're gonna go out on the water, and I'm gonna show you all of this in a minute. But the line's just gonna be laying there, a bunch of lines. So this is perfect, because as it's sinking, they might get bit. By the time they go and click that thing shut, the bail on the reel, and they start reeling in that slack line and reeling in, and they finally get to this bait, a lot of times they'll already have a fish on. So they'll get to the bait and, oh, something's pulling on it. They'll just start reeling. The hook will come out, and hook the fish right in the mouth. This bait is a fish catcher. This thing catches them all over the country, catches them all time of year, and this is the perfect bait to have on when you're getting into fishing. And again, you're just gonna tie it on with that same exact Palomar knot, just like I did the swim bait, and cast it out, let it sink down. It's gonna do its thing. If it hits bottom, and it's laying there, you just slowly drag it. So you'll pull your rod tip, drag it, it'll fall down a little bit again, drag it, and just keep on doing that. So let's go get out on the water. I'll show you guys exactly how to use these things, and I'll talk about a couple other things that you do need when you start fishing. All right guys, we're just getting down to the water. We're gonna get down here with our two setups, the Senko and the swim bait, and talk a little bit about each of them, how to throw them. where to throw them, and how to work the bait, and hopefully catch some fish. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that you do need to start fishing, and it's good to have for just your skin protection, eye protection, is a hat, any hat, and sunglasses. Preferably polarized sunglasses is going to help you see in the water. It's going to help you pick out those spots you want to cast to, the weed line, maybe if there's a tree in the water, and also when the fish start to move up to spawn, these glasses, the polarized glasses, cut glare, and you'll be able to see the fish when they start spawning, moving up shallow. You'll see them, and you can cast right to them, see how they react to your bait, and hopefully catch them. So these two things, hat and sunglasses, are extremely important to make your day more enjoyable, and also to help you fish better. They will help you fish better, especially the glasses. And you don't have to pick up an expensive pair of polarized. They sell them, you know, I think there's polarized glasses at Walmart for 20 bucks, something like that. So those are the two other things that you're gonna need when you start fishing. Okay, I almost forgot something pretty important. If you're brand new to bass fishing, how do you cast? I'm just gonna go over it real quick because I'm sure there's a bunch of videos out there on it that are a lot better than what this is gonna be. But just to show you quickly how to cast. You have your bait out here. You have, you know, line coming down from your rod. And I always like to reel the bait up to where it's about a foot to 10 inches from the rod tip. Also, at the same time that the bait's a foot to 10 inches from the rod tip, you want your spool, this part where your line's coming off your spool, right here, you want that to be in line with the rod. Where the line's coming off the spool, you want it to be in line with the rod. If you're right-handed like me, you're gonna use this, your pointer finger, grab the line. You're gonna grab the line, open up the spool with the left hand. Now, as soon as I let go with this finger, the line's gonna drop, the bait's gonna drop. So what I'm gonna do is just put this thing back, you know, bring the rod back, and then I'm gonna release my finger at about a 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock angle and make the bait shoot out. So I'm gonna aim, I wanna throw it out there. I'm gonna release it at about this angle. I'm gonna release this finger and let it shoot out. Just like this. You don't have to do it hard, just nice and soft. And the bait flies way out there. And remember, that bait has no weight on it. It's just full of salt. So you don't need to buy any weights or nothing, just the worms and the hooks. And that's basically how you cast a spinning rod. And like I said, there's other videos on it, I'm sure. It'll give you way more in depth, but that's pretty much how you cast a spinning reel. It's really easy. All right, swim bait. And I got the same rod I told you guys works. I want to show you that it works just as well as the other. It's a little Keitech on that little head. One of the only baits you'll need to start fishing. So when you come up to the pond, or if you're fishing off a boat, this thing's easy to use. That's why I say it's one of the best baits to use. You're just gonna cast it out. Start reeling it just like that. So it's a really good bait for beginners, because all you got to do is cast it out, let it hit the water. It could go to the bottom, or you could start reeling it right away depending on the depth. Like here, out there is maybe 5 feet deep, so I'm just going to start reeling it medium slow retrieve. When the fish eats it, it's just going to eat it, and with that exposed hook, it's just going to get hooked on its own. I don't have to do much. That's all there is to this bait. So if you don't like wading, you like walking around the lake, this swim bait's an excellent option, and it catches fish everywhere around the country, in every body of water, all different types of fish, not only bass. It'll catch stripers, hybrids, crappie if you get it small enough. It'll catch fish in the ocean. It catches everything. Cast and reel it in, that's all you got to do. And with a lot of baits, like jerk baits, topwater, you really got to learn how to twitch it. You know, walk the dog, pop a jerk bait. With this, it's really easy. All you got to do is just constantly reel it. It doesn't matter Sometimes if you're reeling it real fast or if you're reeling it real slow, I just like a real, you know, medium retrieve. And if you're around the fish and they want to eat, they'll eat this bait. It was really easy to use. Not a lot to learn. I showed you how to tie them on. I showed you how to rig them on the hook. Should be ready to go. All right, our second bait we talked about was the stick bait. A Yamamoto Senko, Yumdinger, Bass Pro Shop Sticko. It's rigged up on our hook. 8-pound monofilament. And this guy, I don't know, maybe you'll be able to see it in the water right here. This guy, when it hits the water, it's gonna sink all on its own and it's gonna wobble. It's gonna shimmy. So it's gonna go in the water and it's just gonna wobble slowly down to the bottom. How you work this is you cast it out there. It hits the water and your bail's gonna be open after you cast. You shut it with this hand, shut it to stop your line from going out. Now your line's floating on the water. And you watch your line and it'll be going out, out, out until the line stops. When the line stops, that means your bait is on the bottom and that's where you want it to be. Most of these fish are gonna be on the bottom or in the weeds. So it's important to always try to keep your bait in contact with the bottom or the weeds. And this bait will not get hung up in the weeds. It'll just lay flat on top of the weeds. And when you work it, you're just gonna slowly pull your rod tip like that, maybe 2-3 feet, and stop. Now it's going back down and my line's going out. I don't know if you guys could see that. My line's going out. So it fell in like a hole in the weeds. So then I drag it, lay my line flat on the water, stopped again. A lot of times they'll pick it up when it stops and you pull it again. That's all you need to do. That's all you do with this bait. If you want to, you can reel it back in. A lot of times they hit it on the fall. You could take it, cast it back out. Cast it out. Line's laying flat on the water. It's going down, sinking. It's on bottom. The line's not moving at all. I'm gonna reel up my slack. Pull it real soft. See if there's a fish on there. If not, let it sit again. Reel up my slack. Pull it. Let it sit. So this is a slower moving bait than the first bait, that swim bait. But this bait catches a ton of fish. A lot of times, even when they don't want to bite, they'll eat this just because it's such a slow moving presentation. And it has that nice shimmy on the fall. And they just, if it falls in front of their face, they can't help but to eat it. All right, guys, we pulled up to a different pond. This is most like what you're gonna encounter at your local man-made pond, maybe around your neighborhood. And I'm just gonna start out with the little swim bait, the pink rod, my daughter's rod, and see if we can catch them. And at all these ponds, the fish are mainly gonna be from 2 feet off the bank to maybe 10 feet off. I don't really catch anything out there. So when you're fishing them, really parallel cast the bank, cast down this way, cast one time maybe 5 feet off, cast another time 10 feet off, reel it in. If you don't get them, move down, walk down, and do it all over. So let's go. Oh, we got a fish. See that? Got one. Got one on one of our baits, swim bait. I didn't even know it was a fish. I was just reeling. Just reeling, just like you would, you know, if you're starting out. Sometimes hard to tell, but that exposed hook got him. Just keep reeling and the bait does it for you. Right there. Nice little fish. The bait right there at the top of the mouth. Hook good. With that little rod, the little pink rod, just kept reeling, 8-pound mono. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's all you need to get started. There's one on that bait. Thank you, guy. Let's see if we get another one. I got another fish on the fall. Cast out there and I went to reel it in. It's already on there. Look at this. And the bite's been tough too. So you catch little guys like that, again, right in the roof of the mouth. Little guy, that's okay. It's a fish, it's fun to catch. It's on that swim bait again. Super, super easy bait to use. Let's get another one. Got one. Got one, guys. Got one. He ate it, just kept on reeling. Feels like a better fish. And you want to keep your drag to where, oh yeah, it is a fat fish. To where that fish could pull drag. The line's not that strong on 8-pound. It's pretty strong, but you just want to make sure you're not going to break him off. When he wants to pull, let him pull. As he's coming in, reel down, and we're going to try to get this guy on the bank because this is a nice fish here. Oh man, don't fall. All right. Just let him fight. Oh, and he came off. But we got to see him. Swim bait again. Ooh, got one. Got one. Just reeling it right there. Reeling it right there. Ooh, nice one. Nice one. Nice one. All right. All right. There we go. Look at that. Swim bait again. I'm telling you guys. Swim bait Senko. We're going to go to the Senko soon. It's just hard for me to put this down when they're eating it. Swim bait, cover in water, catches fish. All right, you guys, we're going to switch over and go to the stick bait. And probably the #1 color, if you had to have a color, is going to be just green pumpkin, black flake. Any variation of green pumpkin, they have come with different color flakes, or watermelon, works just fine. Those are probably the best color you could have. You know, if you had to have one color and one color to start with, green pumpkin, black flake, or green pumpkin, red flake. Works in all watercolors, catches them everywhere. We're switching over to this, see if we can get some fish on here. Oh, got one. Man, he popped it. Let's see, let him have it. Yep, he's got it. Got him. Got him. Not a big one. Got one on the stick bait though. First one. I actually missed another one back there. All right, guys, simple bait to use. Throw it out. Let it sink down to the bottom. If you don't get one on the fall, just drag, drag, drag. Let it go back to the bottom. Reel it back in. Cast back down the bank. Let's see if we get another one here. Oh, I got one. He ate it on the fall. Oh, got him. Jeez, this one feels like he got some shoulders. This one got some shoulders. Oh. Oh yeah. On the fall. Anybody could do it. Cast out. Didn't take anything special. You know, I didn't do anything to get him. And I got a biggest one of the day so far. Ooh, he's around the log. All right, all right. There you go. There you go, another nice fish on the stick bait. Super chunky. The bite's gonna pick up here. It's an excellent time to start fishing right now. If you've thought about fishing, right now is the time to start. Come out, stick bait, swim bait, catch you some fat bass. Oh, I got another one swimming out. Another good one. Another good one. Right there. Hooked perfectly. When they bite it, you want to let them take it for a little bit. They most of the time won't spit it out, so count to 3, reel all your slack in, lean in on them. Looks like they're eating both these baits pretty well today. Oh, got a fish. Got a fish, guys, swimming out with the stick bait. Oh no, right there. Got him. Ooh, nice one. Nice one on the stick bait. Really nice one. They can't resist it. Ooh, man, that's a fat fish right there. Look at that. Big old fatty. Hit it right up there by the bank. Nice, I don't know, 2 3/4, almost 3 pounder. Nice fish. Release them to go back, and that's how you do it on the stick bait and the swim bait. Only 2 baits you guys really need to start out bass fishing. To go anywhere in the country, any body of water that has bass, and you have these 2 baits, they make a great duo. It's all you need, and you will catch fish. Right now is the perfect time to start bass fishing. Whether it be your kid, whether it be yourself, it's the perfect time to start, because these bass are going to be in an active feeding mode coming up in March, April, May, and it's an exciting time to be fishing. It's a time that if you've been bass fishing all your life, we look forward to this time of year all year. It seems like the window of opportunity takes forever to get here, and when it does get here, it's gone like that. So right now is the perfect time to get a kid into fishing, yourself, get out there and catch a lot of fish. All right, thank you guys for watching this episode. Hopefully you guys took away some good information. You only need the 2 setups to start bass fishing. It's easy to do, it's cost effective. Get outside, go enjoy the weather that we have coming up, and just have fun. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.